Blog Talk Radio.
Gotta love technology when it works, and gotta love technology when it doesn't work. Hello, everybody in the franchise world. My name is Paul Segreto, and this is Franchise Today. Our jingle at the beginning of our show, for some reason, is not working. We'll have to chalk that up to technical difficulties. Of course, I'm reporting live from Houston, Texas, as we're bracing for Tropical Storm Harvey, anticipating 24 to 36 inches of rain over the weekend. And my co-host, Stan Friedman, is in the windy city of Chicago. Stan, how is it up there today?
Beautiful day today, Paul. When I got here, day before yesterday, I felt like I landed it back in Atlanta. This place was that you could cut the air with a knife here 2 days ago, but now it is a crisp and beautiful day in the windy city.
Well, that's great, and of course, you're up there for the Franchise Capital Exchange, which is right in the midst of going on. Tell us what you can about the event.
Well, and yeah, as you know, it's a tough event to talk about because there's a cloak of secrecy over the protection of brands. You know, when brands are looking for money, I guess their franchisees as well as their support teams in the office can find that disconcerting. Oh my gosh, the boss is looking to sell, or the franchisor is looking to sell, and that can create all kinds of nervous anxiety. And then too, if they come and the teams know that they're coming and then they don't get money, oh my God, there's something wrong with our concept. So it's a tough event to talk about. There are some brands here that are certainly worthy of investment, and there are some brands here with, they've already got in the 50s or more units. So it is time for them to be looking for the kind of investment that will help them start doing more than just bootstrapping their way to that magic number of about 100 where we see royalty sufficiency so that they can cash flow positive and not be dependent on franchise sales to do so. Good stuff. It's a great conference. I'm proud to be a participating sponsor, and I can talk about some of those people that are here, the guys that are contributing to the program, like Ron Feldman and Art Coley and Tim Mady and Larry Meyer from FC Datsun and Don Kane. There's a bunch of us that the regular group, and I cut class actually. I did a presentation this morning on behalf of FRM, and then instead of staying put in my chair to listen to Don Kane, who was going to follow me from Hot Dish, and then Shelley's son behind her, I had to make a decision. Am I going to sit and listen to the two of them, or am I going to come here and talk with the two of you? So I opted in for Brad today.
There you go. Let me just touch on a couple of things on the front of the house so we can bring Brad on. Help IFA protect franchising. Again, register for the upcoming FAN annual meeting. Changes in Washington can drastically affect your franchise. Equip yourself with the knowledge to protect and enhance your business by attending IFA's Franchise Action Network annual meeting, September 11th through 13th in Washington, D.C. Register at franchise.org. Where did that accent come from? Anyway, also, webinar coming up, Breakthrough Strategies for Franchise Marketers, brought to you by the Supplier Forum of the IFA. That's the next Wednesday Wise webinar. It will focus on winning the inbox, Breakthrough Strategies for Franchise Marketers. That webinar takes place on September 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, you can find more information at franchise.org. Of course, next week is the annual Faegre Baker Daniels, or Faegre BD Franchise Summit in Minneapolis. Of course, Stan, I know you will be there. And then, of course, we're going to follow up in September with the Springboard event for Emerging Franchisors in Philadelphia, and that's what we'll be talking about today as our guest. Our returning guest is Brad Fishman. Of course, everyone knows Brad as the CEO of Fishman Public Relations and as an extremely active member of the IFA but Brad is, amongst many other things, also the co-founder of Springboard, a special event for emerging franchisors. Brad, welcome back to Franchise Today.
Well, thank you, Paul and Stan. It's been wonderful sitting here in the green room listening to this a little bit. And
the green room, I love it.
And Stan, welcome to Chicago. Yes, but it is gorgeous out today, and I'm sitting in my office.
Picture perfect day, man. And you couldn't. And last evening, even, it was just nice. It was great, crisp shirt sleeve weather here. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, matter of fact, I am off to the White Sox game tonight. Even though I grew up a Cub fan, but I was invited to the White Sox. So hopefully it's going to continue being a great night in Chicago.
It ought to be a perfect night for a baseball game.
Well, that'll be great.
Thanks for having me again, gentlemen.
Yeah. Brad, it's great that you're able to be on here. I was happy to hear that you were able to get on with short notice. Usually your travel is quite extensive. So I know your schedule is quite packed. I would have loved to have Lane Fisher, your partner in this, on, but I know Lane is riding horses through the surf.
You saw that too. He's in Jamaica. Sure. I can promise you it's not going to be cool there. Well, yeah. We're very excited. We're excited for Springboard, which is coming up next month, and so he had to get a little rest in before things get nuts.
Yeah, I'm sure. Off the FranchiseSpringboard.com site, it says successful franchisors know that franchising is based on the execution of a strategy, not the accidental discovery of the right path. And I think, nothing could be further from nothing could be more true than that statement. And I know there's a lot of things that are going to come out of this event that are going to help many, many, many emerging brands. But what I'd like to do for our listening audience is kind of take us back, to those first early stage conversations that eventually led into Springboard. I mean, what precipitated it? What spurred you and Lane to have those discussions, and what did it take to move forward from there?
Well, Lane and I met probably in the mid-'90s at an international franchise event. Actually, back then, the fan meeting, which you guys discussed, there was no fan meeting back then, back then it was a regional board and committee meetings, which were in Florida. Lane and I met then. And one thing led to another, and there's, many of you guys, people know out there, Lane and I also run the Franchise Unconference, which is a conference in Park City, Utah in March. And as we kind of had, we invite people and different people come in. Majority of the people are returning people, but we always love new, and we started meeting young emerging franchisors who were attending the event and found out, they're all trying to find out what shouldn't they do instead of not only just finding out what they should do. Because every franchisor, and I'm sure, Stan, as you're hearing, at this conference in Chicago right now, is everyone made a mistake there. Everyone made some mistakes. How do you try to make a few less mistakes, which not only is going to save you tons of money, but in a lot of cases, way more important is time. The difference in, finding the right franchisee. Those first 5 franchisees are so important. And instead of worrying about that first check coming, because one bad mistake is going to kill your validation. It's going to kill a lot of things with money, time, trying to service those franchisees that really shouldn't have been the initial franchisees. And then we started talking, and, Lane and I being around the space for a long time, we're able to call in, for a better word, call in some favors for some of our friends who are very established franchisors who have built great organizations and made some of those mistakes, but are willing to share with people what they did and hopefully stop making a few less.
Well, this is going to be my third Springboard as a participating sponsor in the event, and I can tell you that from the first time I attended, the thing that captured me and really got me feeling the way I do, as passionate about Springboard, is that you guys actually made it participatory. So it's not a bunch of podium, blah, 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 blah. Everybody who's there plays a role in the program. And whether you're coming as a sponsor or you're coming as a corporate employee, if you're coming as an emerging brand that's looking to crack, the code and get to the next level. I remember the first time we had this mock FDD, and it was about Brad Fishman and Lane Fisher in this pretend FDD were very accomplished in their professions, but they were hanging it up and they were starting this new, and it was a phony FDD that was designed for teams to work on a project and have to read the FDD for homework after the first night. And then the teams that were assembled to work on this were going to make decisions about how are we going to capitalize this new franchise offering? Are we going to market with area development or single unit or multi-unit? How are we financing it? Are we going to use brokers? And every team had to sit in front of a board of people like Charlie Chase and Shelley Sun and be judged on their go-to-market strategy. So no matter who you were put on a team of like-minded people. There were some people that were on these teams that were finance people, some that were ops, some that were sales, and they all competed. But everybody contributed, and your take-home value is a lot stronger when you're participating. You did it again the second year that I was there, and I don't know what's involved for this year, Brad. Maybe you want to give us a glimpse, but hopefully it's still going to be very much hands-on, where participants, no matter who they are involved.
We have to make it participatory because as time goes on, I know I learn better when I'm involved in stuff from the ground up. You're going to have people who are going to talk, but we want to keep it very hands-on, let people get down and really get down and dirty. And yes, there's going to be a winner. There's going to be a team that's not going to present as well. But the whole knowledge of what you go through the process is the whole idea of what you're getting the people to think about. And it's interesting how you hear experienced franchisors learning stuff which is part of the whole process. It's a learning process for everybody. Young emerging franchisors think differently than emerging franchisors. A lot of the very experienced franchisors delegate a lot more now, let's be blunt. And because they don't have to, they have a whole marketing department. When you're a young entrepreneur, you got to do everything. You got to wear every hat. So it's interesting to hear different people's different views. The younger generation. As a matter of fact, we have a panel this year that's our millennial franchisors. And
wow.
So it's interesting. The young people are getting into it. They're looking at this as a career very, very early instead of unfortunately, starting businesses. A lot of them. So there's all kind of people getting into franchising right now.
And Brad, I feel like this is, this conference on two tracks becomes one of my favorite. It is my favorite because it is not just the emerging space, which I so love being a part of, but because also it's kind of like Gary and Teresa's conference with Franchise Leadership and Development Conference, that it's focused. It's honed in. It's got a laser sharp point on it. It's about breaking the code on cracking 100 and getting from emerging to sustainable growth. So conferences that go deep, like Springboard, are a little less generic or a little less generalized. An IFA convention, you've got everything going on and a lot of tracks. But conferences like this are laser focused on the intent of helping get the word emerging out of the sentence as you're growing for sustainable growth.
Well, and I'll ask you guys the question, because this is an answer I don't think anyone can give. I heard, when I was in the green room, I heard the number of 100 units. That's when the difference is when you don't become emerging. People define it as, because I ask people this question all the time. A lot of people you'll hear more is that 15 to 25. Once they're over 25, they don't consider themselves emerging. Is it when they become royalty self-sufficient? Is it 50? I don't have anyone really has a good answer. It's what anyone's definition is. And it's, question is yes, are we royalty self-sufficient? Well, so what do you guys really think?
I'm going to just jump in front of you, Paul, and then you've got a question behind this. I feel like the work we're doing with the 3-year plan that Shelley has asked for the supplier board to work on for emerging franchise growth and development, we're using the number of 100 just as a round number. I don't know that there's a right or a wrong. I think it's plus minus, but you've got to put a mark someplace for you can't measure what you can't manage what you don't measure. So for the purposes of definition, we're using the about 100 as that number for royalty sufficiency.
I think the number. I understand where you're coming from, Stan. You need a benchmark, so to speak, to measure from. But I think there are so many variables. The experience of the franchise leadership team certainly plays into it. If you have a rather inexperienced team and you're at 30 units, as opposed to a very experienced leadership team at 30 units, obviously the trajectory from there might be far greater. I think a lot of it has to do where they are in their systems and their processes, the industry segment. Are they in a relatively new industry segment with a very distinctive value proposition as opposed to in a very crowded industry segment? How many corporate units they have, how well proven and defined the business model is. I think there's a lot of variables that are in there, and obviously we look at so many brands that are coming to the forefront right now in franchising or entering into franchising. I should say, I know hear so many people say emerging brands. It's one that has 2 units. I look at those obviously as true startup. I think when they finally start emerging is right along with the word when they start gaining a little bit of exposure and a little bit of traction, and then from there a lot of it depends on the certainly on the trajectory. But the question that I wanted to ask Brad was, the point that I wanted to bring up. I was at the first few Springboard events in Philadelphia, and I remember the first one I was at was they had a Shark Tank, and Steve Greenberg and Shelley's son, and I don't remember the third person that was supposedly on the Shark Tank panel. The participation in the different events that took place leading up to actually getting out in front of the sharks was quite extraordinary. I mean, I remember being in a room with 60 other people of varying degrees of experience and success in business and in franchising. And one of the great things that I took away from it, as well as several emerging franchisors took away from it, was from the experienced franchisors and how they thought and how they came up with their perspective. And it didn't matter because obviously it was totally outside what their brand was because we were dealing with a fictitious brand. But the way they went about coming up with solutions, looking at ways to develop additional profit centers, to come up with different, resources that, a lot of them that were in the room that had good business models as independent businessmen, were looking at it with just this sense of awe, like, how did they do that so quick? And I think, that's just one of the things that the experienced, mature franchisors, bring to the table that to me is just priceless amount of success and experience in a real-time environment that they show the emerging brands. And that's really what has stuck with me through the handful of shows, the handful of emerging brands events that I've gone to.
And it's something we always try to do when Lane and I and our group really put our time and try to split people up. We kind of try to have that. And, as you kind of mentioned here, Stan, you're at a PE conference right now. And franchising is so hot with PE people. So, I know both you guys have been around the franchising model for a long time. I mean, when we first surrounded it, you didn't find as what I like to call professional managers as much back in the old days. You had some really good entrepreneurs who came up with an idea, knew how to run a business. Now as more PE firms are coming in, they are bringing in professional managers. And these are people that have tremendous amount of experiences. A lot of them running multinational, millions and billions of dollar divisions of companies. So I think it's interesting how they have a different perspective of way different types of people who kind of gel together to form that one team. And I completely agree with you because it makes it a lot of fun, but the knowledge that so many of these people bring here, it's shocking to me how, David Barr, who's been involved with a good friend of ours for such a long time. I mean, David came from, he was back then was a big 8 accountant. He was president of a franchise division. He sits on publicly traded boards. And you look at the type of ideas that run through his head, and you're like, wow, I never even would have thought of that. But that's the type of people that you bring in. And the good combination. And entrepreneurs are a rare breed because, as I always tell people, no one knows what it's like is when, being an entrepreneur myself, it's tough. You make decisions sometimes that maybe are not always the greatest for, the 3-year plan. But when you're an entrepreneur, you got to make it because you got to pay bills.
Right. Yeah. So, it's tough too. It's tough too, though, Brad, because I feel like it's not that many years ago when I was still on the Zor side of the business, and the kinds of tools that are available to franchisors today to help them manage their businesses are so much more abundant. I mean, technology has just pushed the envelope on the change between how things used to be done and how things are done. But it doesn't change the fact that so many of these emerging franchisors are still a lot more entrepreneurial sometimes than it's in their best interests to be. And even with the tools available to them, you can lead a horse to water. We all know the rest of that story. But, at the end of the day, I really believe that it's become even more incumbent that the private equity issue has pushed the envelope. It's forced franchisors to raise the bar on what they do, because growing your business is not the same as developing a model that's proven franchise worthy. So you can get to 3 to 4 units and still be the entrepreneur with your hands on the clay. But, if you're going to scale your business beyond that, the skill sets that got you to where you are not the ones you need anymore to break the mold and grow. And if you don't do that in today's world with all the professional management that private equity has brought into the space, you're toast.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. And, I think with how hot the franchising market is, there's probably some emerging brands that probably should have waited a little bit longer before they started franchising.
Right.
And I've looked at this has been the 5th year of Springboard. We always get a bunch of companies who are trying to determine should they franchise their business, and compared to I am a franchise, what should I do? And what goes along with it, and the time and the effort, and coming from a direct knowledge. I mean, when I was growing up, my father and his partner were franchising a check cashing business, and when they finally realized they didn't really want to be franchisors.
It's interesting you say that, Brad. We've been working with a lot of clients, a handful of clients of late, through some feasibility study on whether or not they should franchise or not. And what's really come out of it is when it's presented in the right way, a lot of times they say, yeah, we're premature in it. But when they take the pointers and they know what they have to focus on as if they were going to franchise, they've always felt and have seen the results that they're better. Their business becomes better by preparing to franchise, even if they don't, because they start going through the things like, documenting their processes, bringing in, some of the latest trends in technology and what have you. And they find that they're now able to operate a second location that they never thought they would know how to do in the past. And it's interesting, too, one of our clients that's been at the Springboard event a few years ago, that decided after a long, long time of trying to explore whether or not franchising was right for them, actually said tongue-in-cheek to me yesterday, I think I should come there and do a panel discussion on, why you shouldn't franchise. And we had an interesting exchange of conversation about it. And I said, yes, and I'm not the one that took them into franchising, but I certainly helped them after the fact. And I said, but all the things that we went through in preparation for franchising, do you feel it helped improve your business? And he said, tremendously, without going through that exercise. Even though we're not franchising, maybe we will in the future, but even though we're not franchising, I don't know if we would be here today had we not gone through that exercise, because it forced us to learn so much more about our business that it's operating far better today, more efficiently, more profitable than ever before. So there's a lot of good that comes of it, even if they don't make the decision to move forward, and maybe at some point they will. A question I have for you, Brad, is, 5 years, Springboard event, certainly one of the main stops and one of the favorite stops of many on the franchise event circuit. What changed? What has changed this year from 5 years ago? Where has the evolution taken it to today from where it was 5 years ago?
It's an interesting question, and I happen to be talking to Paul Rock here from the IFA this morning, and it's interesting. Our attendance is dramatically up right now, and for this year for Springboard. And, we were fortunate, our first year we had Entrepreneur as a media partner, and that didn't dramatically help. But I happened to be reading through the list with Paul this morning, and he goes, you probably realize there's 40 companies he's never heard of, and here he is running membership at the IFA. So there's so many people out there that are looking to franchise their business and franchising their business, and it's getting the word out. And probably one of the biggest things we've done this year is we did a social media campaign. I mean, it's interesting for us, is like how many different companies are out there, and we're always finding every year more and more companies, and we're all of us being extremely involved. I'm talking about the three of us, very involved with the IFA. I think last year we were the biggest introduction to new members joining the IFA because of people there, and there's always coming new and more emerging new franchise companies looking to go into franchising, which is fabulous for all of us. Livelihoods depend on franchising, but we're trying to do is get the word out. And Paul, you brought up a fabulous point that they are a better business now because they did not franchise. They understand how the different things that go along with it. Structure, financial, if they weren't great at it, operations, as they're trying to go to their second spot. And the whole idea is to let people know there's always going to be new emerging franchise brands out there, which is great for everybody in the industry. But we want successful emerging franchise systems. Yes, we all know there's going to be a few mistakes along the way, and people are going to drop franchising as a model. But if they become a better business, and we're seeing this more and more and more, and it's an enticing thing, it's a great model, and, hey, we all love it. But I think they have to be prepared for it and try to stay away from some of those mistakes when they are ready to franchise.
Yeah, one great quote before I go into the mid-break. I think it was the first, or it might have been the second year of the Springboard Conference, and Ron Feldman was up in front of the emerging brands, and he said, why would you as emerging brands expect individuals to invest their life savings in your brand if your own balance sheet wouldn't even qualify you to buy a single unit in your system? And I'll leave it with that. You're listening to Franchise Today. I'm Paul Segreto along with Stan Friedman, and we're talking today with Brad Fishman, CEO of Fishman Public Relations and co-founder of Springboard, a special event for emerging franchisors. Franchise Today is brought to you by the Franchise Foundry, where they've been bringing emerging brands to market for more than 30 years. The Foundry fosters healthy, sustainable growth for their clients, the kind that comes from experience. Franchise Foundry provides both coaching and consulting, a hybrid approach that delivers more effective solutions for both the franchisor's corporate team as well as for their franchisees. Franchise Foundry team is rich in practical, hands-on experience and expertise with general business management, operational and change management, digital marketing, and, of course, franchise recruitment and development. Plus, the Foundry team can also assist you with creating roadmaps for potential mergers and acquisitions and provide you with the guidance needed to navigate them. Learn more about the Franchise Foundry along with their expanding list of clients at www.franchisefoundry.com. Franchise Today is also brought to you by FRM Solutions, offering best-in-class CRM and document management software designed specifically for franchising. FRM empowers real-time business intelligence, communication, and collaboration between all members of the franchisor's team and prospective as well as existing franchisees. This enables you to simply and seamlessly track, access, and manage all messages to and from prospective and existing franchisees, including text. Legal and compliance is simplified too, with FRM's document management, and even site visits can be digitally facilitated and scored with FRM. Make today the day you give FRM a look and assure that all of your candidate and franchisee correspondence, including text messages, are being permanently tracked and stored in candidate and franchisee records. FRM even provides state-of-the-art digital experiences for your prospective franchisees, replacing old-style virtual brochures. No long-term contracts, multiple upgrades each year at no additional cost each year, no excuses, just solutions on the web at frmsolutions.com.
So, Brad, let's talk about this year's event and the other favorite thing that always pays huge dividends for those who attend Springboard is the ability to network and to have opportunities to not only take what they take from the working sessions and their collaboration in those sessions, but the availability of high-profile, highly successful franchisors like Catherine Monson and Shelley, Charlie Chase, the ability to have conversations with people who they can aspire to. Talk a little bit about the networking aspects.
Well, Lane has always been the one who's really good at education. I usually take the lead at the networking part, which is what I enjoy the most. So, we try to keep it from the moment you get there, starting on, this year falling on a Monday, and going into our opening. We have some sessions and go right into an opening cocktail party at a fun new location, and hopefully the weather's going to be beautiful. And then we go from morning to the next day, going on Tuesday, we go from breakfast all the way through dinner, which is at a new fun place, which is surprise-ish. But it's a lot of fun. So we decided to go to a new location. But the whole idea is because I think the idea, and you hit it right, it's like network is what, in my personal opinion, makes what our conference different from everyone else's, where we really try to keep people involved, but let people know on a friendly environment, and the networking aspect of, we have the cocktail parties, and we go into fun dinners, and just try to keep it really exciting, interactive, because to me that's where you don't have the opportunity. I love the IFA convention. I've been involved in it. I haven't missed an IFA convention since 1993. But when you have 4,000 people, it's tougher to find the person you really want to talk to. And here it's very interactive, the ability to go up and talk to his Shelley's son and just go over and talk to her. It's great, and that's what we enjoy the most. I know all our, the past members, that's what everything comes back to the comment is how nice it is that you can really talk to anybody out there. Franchisors, as we all know, are fabulous, and the whole franchising industry as a whole are great of sharing. even though we're all competitors out there, we want to share because the value and the long term of the franchising industry is so important to many of us. So the networking part is a big part of what we do. We try to make it very fun. We try to keep it very casual. And, we're one of the few conferences that says at night, at our dinners, wear jeans, have fun.
So we know that this is the record year. I mean, you've grown this thing to a place where I'm certain in the beginning you had no idea what this was going to morph into and become. But who should be registered that isn't? If you were talking to somebody in our audience that may think they're either too small or maybe they're too far along, who should register for this? And frankly, is it too late or are you almost at capacity?
No, we actually moved hotels this year to increase the capacity. So, as I mentioned before, we're 150% up already this year. And, we tell people, anyone who's looking to franchise, and, I guess technically probably the 100 number, but I think anyone who wants to learn and network, I mean, we have a lot of people who are attending just because there's always going to be something new. With, as you guys both know and attended many, we have some great sponsors / suppliers who are a big part of our organization. And Lane and I don't make money at this. Our whole goal is not to lose any money at this. And it's something we can give back to, and because the way we feel about the industry. So whatever money comes in goes right out the door because of the type of food we do, the type of entertainment we try to do, the venues that we go for, and it's pretty much an all-inclusive thing. And we'd love to anyone who's new to the franchising industry, like as we just talked about, the great place to network. And I always tell people, if you're 0 to 200, it's a great place to be and really find out what you are doing well if you're a 200 unit, and places you really want to improve and talk to people about it.
Well, I am honored to say that Franchise Foundry, one of our newest clients, Enjoy Your Party, Patrick Morlando out of New Jersey, just sent me an email and said I registered to attend. So he'll be there with his team as well. That'll be great. Tell us about the exciting keynote speaker you have this year.
Oh, as you probably saw, everyone knows the Arby's name, which is now owned by Roar Capital, and it's a very small little world. Lane's oldest son Ryan, was being tutored by someone in Philadelphia for his ACT SATs and helping them decide on universities, and found out that her father was the co-founder with his brother of Arby's. And
wow.
Which is, so Mr. Raffle, who was in his early 90s, Lane flew down to Florida, met with him, and he said he'd be willing to come speak to us. And it was like, I go, Lane, are you kidding me? He goes, no. I got him to agree, and he's looking really forward to it. And the one big thing he said, and Lane said he was absolutely fascinated that his name Leroy Raffle, was absolutely fascinated about the type of conference and what a great idea it was. And he will be flying up and coming to speak to everyone. And it's an incredible story what they were able to do and the trials and tribulations they did to starting a franchise back in, when franchising wasn't as easy. You didn't have as much knowledge out there. It was probably before the IFA was founded.
I'm really looking forward to him sharing his story. That's going to be absolutely great. You know that a lot of the very impressionable young franchisors in the audience are going to just hang on his every word. That's going to be fantastic.
I mean, he laid the groundwork for so many people out there. And him and his brother did, and they went through a lot of trials and tribulations of what's going on with, look at Arby's now. I mean, Arby's is probably one, if you look at, a lot of things in the restaurant business, is probably the star right now of, the unit averages have gone up dramatically. Financially, Arby's is extremely successful now. They changed the menu, and they've evolved to what a lot of, what franchisors have to do over time, changing the menu.
Sure. Tell us a little bit about, the partnership for Springboard. There's Fishman Public Relations. There's Lane's firm, FisherZucker, also Entrepreneur Magazine. I mean, there's, a lot of knowledgeable people, a lot of passionate people. How has the partnership evolved over the years to what it is today?
Well, as most people know, Lane and I have had a long time relationship, both personally and business. Like I said, I mentioned since the mid-'90s, and our involvement in IFA, how we're both passionate about the franchising industry. Entrepreneur has been around longer than I've been around in franchising, and it's very nice that Ryan Shea, who is coming, who right now is the editor, I don't know, technically the editor, the publisher. And so Ryan's coming in from California to speak because, everyone knows the Entrepreneur 500. They have great reach in the franchise space. And, it's been something that we are really proud of our involvement with this. It's something that, as I mentioned before, Elaine and I are not making money at this. We are giving back to the franchising community. We're proud to be part of it, and it's great for the industry. And it's something that we love, and it's something Lane and I put a tremendous amount of time on. As my wife Sherry jokes around about it, she knows when it's getting closer to Springboard because I get so many more phone calls. And Sherry said the best thing about Lane being on his vacation right now is I haven't heard from him on a phone. I've gotten a tremendous amount of emails and texts, but at least we can enjoy a peaceful week.
So, Brad, are you able to reveal anything about this year's event as a sizzler or as a sneak preview of maybe something that we're going to experience? Is there anything you're allowed to talk about without Lane getting you in trouble?
Oh, probably most. We've decided, it's like anything else. What we are we're trying to bring up new marketing ideas, looking at way different marketing different type of marketing ideas, looking at millennials, how millennial franchisors are thinking. We're going to do some type of, without revealing too much, there will be some type of interactive thing with judges like we normally do. And I think the evening activity on Tuesday is going to be fabulous. It's something dramatically different. And being in Philadelphia, we have a lot of flexibility in that there's a lot of, how would I put it today? It's history there, and which makes it fun, and we try to do something really different. And, the whole idea is get people networking, get people learning, and at the end of the day, if they make one last mistake, everyone's going to be grateful for that. And we want to see more and more as a big part of what, as you kind of mentioned before, Stan, is IFA's big initiative. How are we going to help some more franchisors reach that 100 mark? And helping people get from 10 to 30, 30 to 50, 50 to 100 is part of it. Let people know what goes on, what's the new initiative, how they should spend their money, what they should be ready for. And we're going to continue to do what we do well and things that we take our feedback very seriously. And believe it or not, we actually get a big portion compared to most other conferences. We actually usually get pretty good feedback. And so we take that.
Go ahead and finish, Brent. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, we get pretty good feedback and see what people really enjoy and things we can improve on.
Do we have any vehicle as to identifying first-timers from veterans and or newbies in terms of emerging versus...
We have not gone to that because we want everyone to feel everyone's on the same boat.
Right.
Everyone's going to see who the speakers are, and, but we want everyone to feel comfortable. And you're going to look for, I don't want anyone, and I know IFA, it's a more difficult thing. You have to have the style because there are different type of programs that they have for newbies. Here, everyone's equal. Everyone's out here to learn and to teach. And some newbies are just as good teachers and will say just as good things because of what they do in their own business.
Are there going to be any historical figures or rabbis or
Well, we figured Leroy was about as good as historical as we're going to find. There's not many people who are in franchising for as long as he has.
But I think it's an amazing thing where two guys that are iconic like you and Lane you humanize yourself to the point where you self-deprecating fun, the skits you've done. I mean, there's no place else in franchising that you're going to go find Lane and Brad Fishman dressed up in character roles like I've seen at Springboard before. So there's a fun side to this thing that goes beyond the education.
I go kicking and screaming every year because Lane somehow falls in love with this whole thing. And he spends hour after hour. And my word is, I'll do anything in this world. I could speak to 100,000 people, but me singing or me doing karaoke is my biggest nightmare.
Wow. That is funny.
I cringe at the whole idea of last year already.
So we know that we have a little bit of time. We have a little bit of time left, Brad, for people to sign up. What is the best way for them to learn more and to get some more information and to sign up?
The best place to do it is go to franchisespringboard.com or franchiseunconference.com. That'll take you to both places, which will get you back to our site there. I think it's a great place for young, emerging brands. And I don't even want to say brands that are, might feel that they're a little bit stagnant to come out, get some energy, because that's the way it is. People are so energized at this conference. We make it so fun. We want everyone to look at it and say, wow, I love this industry as much as Lane and I do. And if we do it right, we're going to be successful at this.
No doubt, and I'm looking forward to participating and being there again and seeing you and Lane. Like I said, I wish he had an opportunity to be with us today, but he does need to prioritize a little bit of time off here and there. So
hopefully he's not coming home with too much of a suntan.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's coming home with a horse, and that's going to be part of your skit. And you don't even know about it yet.
Maybe he's doing part of the filming down there. He is in Jamaica. Maybe he's doing dragons this year.
Fun stuff.
That would be interesting
Brad,
to see.
Yeah, that would be. Brad, thanks again for returning as a
guest
on
Like I said, thank you so much for having me. We look forward to seeing you guys next month. And please, anyone who's listening right now who really feels that they would enjoy themselves and get a lot of great knowledge about it, franchisespringboard.com. Thanks again, guys. I look forward to talking and seeing you guys soon.
See you soon, Brad. Travel
safe.
Enjoy the rest of your quiet August at home.
Good stuff, Stan. Real good stuff. Boy, you're on a busy travel schedule. You're in Chicago now. Next week you'll be in Minneapolis. Then, of course, you're on up to Buffalo for your annual wing event. And then coming out of that, you'll be in D.C. and then in Philadelphia. God, when do you have time to breathe?
Well, I'm going to stay home for franchise updates coming up pretty soon. There's a week at home. So, it's a week at home. It's a week in Atlanta, and I'm still in a hotel room, right? But I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change any of this for the world. I mean, we are blessed to be part of something that we get into this time of year. I always call it silly season, but who's to complain about being around a business that's growing like franchising is, having a place in it to help others do the things that you've learned over the years that you can share out and pay forward, pay back. It's everything about franchising that we live for, Paul. So this is our, this is high season, and I can't wait. Frankly, I love it every year.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It is a unbelievable community, and I really felt it yesterday as I celebrated my 60th birthday. And having spent the past 2 weeks in social media detox, it was a wonderful surprise to return to see the many, many birthday wishes on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Celebrating my 60th birthday and the days leading up to it, I was a bit out of sorts. However, as the number of well wishes kept mounting, including those by text, email, and by phone, It certainly was extremely difficult not to smile, and certainly that was the case as I retrieved an early morning voicemail from a dear friend of ours, Jerry Darnell, singing "Happy Birthday" to me, and that just made my day. And then afterwards, I received a number of beautiful emails and texts that had me shed a tear or two. So this is a tremendous franchise community. And I thank you, and I thank Brad and Jerry and everybody else that's in the community, because it truly is family.
Well, all those years, Paul, are you're no kid anymore. You're catching up. You got a way to go to get me, but you're on your way.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Well, another great show. Until next week, my name is Paul Segreto, wishing you the best, the very best, at this great thing we call franchising. Franchise Today is out.
Franchise pros, Stan the Man, Paul Segreto, Badlands, baby. Franchising today, sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today, sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchising today, franchising today, franchising today.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. At American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.